We talk it out, no time to waste. Ooh, yeah. Face to face, we set the pace. Hey, hey. Love so strong, no need to race. We hold it tight in every space, making it last. Oh, making it last. Yeah, yeah. Through the future, through the past. Building it high, keeping it fast. Communication, making it last. Making it last. Oh, making it last. Yeah, yeah. Through the future, through the past. Building it high, keeping it fast. Communication, making it last.
It's time for another conversation. Welcome to Making It Last podcast, where it's all about helping us to have better relationships, not just with ourselves, but with other people. And we're going to be unpacking living with trauma. However you interpret it, we're going to talk about it, we're going to define it. And who is here to talk to me about that is Cara Miller. She is a clinical social worker, and she's part of an organization called Reset Brain and Body. Tell us a little bit about that organization, Cara.
Yeah, we are a mental health care company here in the Metro Detroit area in Michigan. And our mission is really to redefine mental health care service for both our clients and us as clinicians. Part of how we do that, a big piece of how we do that is to work in a really holistic, integrative manner. That's kind of how the name came to be, Brain and Body. I think for a long time, therapy was really focused on thoughts, particularly Western psychology, was really focused on thoughts, the whole like, I think, therefore I am kind of spiel. And that doesn't really cut it, especially when we're talking about trauma. And so Carrie's brainchild of Reset Brain and Body was really about embodying the whole of somebody. And that's how we try to work and practice here.
Therapy sometimes to a lot of people almost sounds like a bad word.
Yeah.
What would be your response to those who continue to see therapy as a bad word, a bad thing?
Oh gosh. I have so much to say about that. I guess for simplicity's sake, I'd want to speak to like you go to the doctor when your body doesn't feel well. Why wouldn't you do that about other things?
Love it. Love it. Love it. That works. All right. So we're going to unpacking the whole idea of living with trauma. How would you define trauma?
I intentionally use a pretty broad definition of trauma to encompass things. Let me think. How I often say it to people is when we've had experiences that are too much, too fast, too soon. And it can be a combination of that, like all of the above, or this and that together. But I think that's often boiled down the crux of what makes something traumatic. It is too much, too fast, too soon, without enough support. And that last piece is really key because we can have something that's too much, too fast, too soon. And if we get the support that we need that meets us where we're at in the moment, which is really different if I'm like 2 and it happens versus like 52. But if I get what I need, my body can digest that experience and do what it needs to do with it. So the without proper support is pretty key to that. Because that tends to lead to something not getting digested the way that we need it to. And that's when you get that idea of like something getting stuck, which you'll hear a lot of trauma therapists or even trauma survivors talk about things being stuck.
Where does the support come from? And is the support then necessary for you to then live with the trauma, regardless of the form that it is in?
I think the support can come from a lot of different sources. So I work a lot with childhood trauma
Okay.
So I don't work directly with kids. That's not really my specialty. So
Okay.
I work with a lot of adults who are dealing with things that happened as kids. So I'd say for a lot of the people I'm talking to, the support they needed and maybe didn't get
Mm-hmm.
was really from caregivers, because I'm also talking to a lot of people where the traumatic material they're grappling with is maybe from
Mm-hmm.
caregivers also. But really, the
Okay.
support can come from a lot of different sources.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've talked to plenty of people who that support that got them through might have come from a teacher
Mm-hmm.
at their school, or a coach or a neighbor who like didn't even really know what was going on but showed up in a way that mattered. Friends, partners we meet later in life, the support can come from a lot of different sources.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, for a bulk of the people I'm talking to, we're often talking about um, a lack of caregiver support,
Okay.
or
Okay.
an incongruence in the caregiver support.
Okay. So I'm backtracking a little bit to then ask the question. You said trauma can be as too fast, too soon, and what was the other one?
What did I say? Too fast, too soon. Too much. Just
All
like
right, too
too
much.
much of it.
All right. So how, if you then use this to identify what your trauma is, this is right across the board for people. Is it also then easy to identify what might then trigger the trauma?
Mm, not necessarily.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know that the two. Hold on. Let me organize my thoughts around that.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of times what allows people to recognize triggers
Mm-hmm.
is conscious awareness of both
Okay.
what they've been through and what's happening in a moment.
Okay.
So a really common struggle for folks, again, because I do a lot of childhood work, a
Mm-hmm.
really common struggle for folks whose experiences were early in life
Mm-hmm.
is, particularly if it happened during what we might consider to be a pre-verbal stage of
Okay.
development,
Okay.
their conscious awareness
Mm-hmm.
of that experience, their explicit memory of it is minimal. So it's there, the data got coded,
Mm-hmm.
um, but it's like when your phone runs an update while you're asleep, but you like didn't know it was happening, and you're like, why does my phone look
Mm-hmm.
different? So
Mm-hmm.
things that happen really early in life, again, the data gets coded, but we don't have conscious awareness of it. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a big bulk of the work that we're often trying to do in therapy around those things, is make the unknown known.
Mm-hmm.
So that's often a what do you want to call it? Sort of a phase of trauma work for a lot of
Okay.
survivors,
Okay.
is trying to make the unknown known so that I can figure out what is happening in these moments when clearly I'm having a response, I'm having a feeling, I'm having a trigger, but I have no idea why, or I don't
Mm-hmm.
know exactly what piece of it is lighting my system up and activating that
Mm-hmm.
old data. It often exists in that space of like, it's not totally known to me yet.
We talk it out, no time to waste. Ooh, yeah. Face to face, we set the pace.
I'm Kara Miller. I am a therapist with Reset Brain and Body in the Metro Detroit area, and we're going to take a quick break and hear from our partners.
Does your week feel heavy? Are you in a moment of pause, unsure of what's next? Consider this your gentle nudge. Every Wednesday, pull up a chair in the waiting room, that quiet space between what was and what's coming. A place for honest conversations, steady faith, and hope that meets you right where you are. I'm Carrie Thomas Black, and this is Between Doors, the Waiting Room podcast, where we navigate the in between with faith, hope, and purpose. Because even here, there is faith in the waiting, strength in the lessons, and triumph in the journey. See you in the waiting room.
Your breakthrough is coming soon. When you meet him in the
I was the person who the teacher would always call on to read aloud in class. And that traveled with me until whenever. But if you took away the paper, if you took away the book, I would freeze. I would die right on the spot. Let me introduce you to my 17, say 18-year-old self. Good with content if I'm to read. However, if I was to ever express my thoughts without writing them on paper, it was no good. Noreen was the one who recognized my flaw, but she didn't leave it there. She led me along the journey of developing my communication skills. She allowed me to know how to critically think on the spot, but not only that, how to arrange my thoughts logically so that I can come across as persuasive in my argument, using logic, using reason, and the right balance of emotive language. This came about through debating. I've always considered myself to be personally indebted to her because she exposed me to so many fundamental pillars of communication. The truth is, I am who I am today because of Noreen's coaching.
Noreen Daly, redefining the way you communicate.
In a world full of noise, N-Sound Media delivers voices that matter. From podcasts that challenge and inspire, to streaming TV that uplifts and informs, to music and stories you won't hear anywhere else. This is media built for community, culture, and truth. Independent, bold, unfiltered. Streaming worldwide and growing every day. Download, listen, watch. Join the movement that puts real voices front and center. N-Sound Media, streaming innovation amplified.
Okay, and welcome back.
We talk it out, no time to waste. Face to face, we set the pace.
What is your advice, or what kind of tips can you say to somebody who will watch this and listen to this and say, I'm listening to all what you ladies are saying, and I recognize that there are some unresolved issues that I really need to work through. So how then can I live with my existing, and I'm going to pluralize it, traumas, because I think more often than not, we
For
get
sure.
triggered and we don't even realize that we're
Yeah.
triggered. But the fact that I love what you said, too fast, too soon, too much. So what are some tips or techniques you'd say to a person, say, hey, you recognize that something has triggered you, and these are some unresolved traumas or issues that you need to work through. What would be your advice for them?
Okay, in no particular order,
Okay.
thoughts that come to mind for me are one, get support. It's really hard to do this by yourself.
Okay.
Like maybe that's an obvious, but I'm going to say it anyway. It is really, really hard to do this by yourself, because doing this work sort of requires you to be in the middle, like in the thick of it,
Okay.
and an observer to the process, which is just that's a lot of mental work.
Okay.
So that's a huge benefit of therapy, is having somebody else who can share the load of observing it and being that outside, like, hold on, I see this thing. Can we talk about that? Or wait, what is this? Let's back out. So I'd say get support. Other thoughts that come to mind are being gentler with yourself than you think. You can't manhandle your way through trauma responses, through old patterns, any of that. Like I say to people all the time, we don't change through hate, we change through love. So if you're having a response to something, you're like, oh, why am I doing this thing? Like, I get it, it's really frustrating. I promise you, you will not hate yourself into a different version of yourself. Because especially if we're talking about trauma, we're talking about strategies I developed likely in response to not feeling safe or not being safe. So these strategies helped me manage that feeling or helped me feel safer again. So then I'm meeting that really deep down desire to be safe with hatred like that doesn't, that
Mhm.
math doesn't math. It doesn't make
Mhm.
sense.
Mhm. Mhm.
So be kinder to
Mhm.
yourself, be gentler, be curious. So part of, I think, being gentle is being curious, or part of, I think those sort of go hand in hand. So I talk to people often about curiosity with
Mhm.
ourselves. So instead of like, oh, why is this happening? More like, huh, why is that happening? That's interesting. Like being a little scientist with yourself.
Mm. Okay.
Um, and the another thought that kind of comes to mind that again we talk about this a lot in therapy is focusing probably more on your body than your thoughts or I often refer to as like the story making self. Um, Especially if you're really not sure why something is happening, you just know that it's happening. We're such thinking creatures. It's part of human development and all that jazz, but we'll get lost in these stories of, okay, let me analyze it. Why is this happening? Maybe it's this, maybe that. And we like get into the weeds of it, but really we're just dealing with story. And let me think how I want to say this. We're just dealing with story when we do that, which is all kind of up here, prefrontal
Mhm.
cortex kind of stuff. And a lot of trauma, like the way it gets coded, it's going to be back here. And our bodies are going to give us much stronger clues about what's happening. So I often direct people away from thought, away from story, away from interpretation into just like, what is that sensation? Where did it start in your body? How is it moving in your body? Um, and even if we never get fully, this goes back to the whole like making the unknown known, even if we never get
Mhm.
fully back to the like, this is exactly what happened start to finish. Maybe we never put that puzzle fully together,
Mhm.
to trace it back to sensation in the body. This is an oversimplification, but it just tends to be more useful to people.
Trauma is usually seen as a negative emotion. Is there any way that we can somewhat flip the script for people to recognize that when you're living with trauma, it can also prove to be something positive, or
Mm.
is it all negative?
No, I don't. I definitely don't think it's all negative. I think
Okay.
it's about how, I think it's about how you've integrated and digested that that experience or experiences.
Okay.
Um, that might determine whether you're looking at it kind of through that lens or
Okay.
if what's lingering from it feels comfortable in the
Mm.
body.
Mm.
Because I'm thinking about, so one of the things that I practice that I do a lot with people is EMDR. So I'm just going to put it into that framework. EMDR is a specific trauma reprocessing therapy
Okay.
modality.
Mm-hmm.
Um, And something I tell people about EMDR all the time, so it's memory work is
Mm-hmm.
kind of the shortest way to explain it, but I tell people all the time, like, I can't erase memories. I can't give you new memories. I can't give you fake memories, and I can't make you think that bad things are actually good. Um, but I can help you facilitate this natural process of digesting and integrating the things that you've been through. Um, and so when I go through that process with people, again, it's sort of an oversimplification of it, but when we get on the back end where somebody's like, I've done all this EMDR and I think I'm done, they're not walking out being like, all of this terrible, awful things, all these terrible, awful things that happened to me are actually really great, and I'm so grateful for them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's, I mean, once in a while, maybe somebody says that, to each their own, it's their journey, but that's like not necessarily the goal. And they're also not walking away from EMDR like, I don't know, with like a blank slate in their head. The people who would say they're on this back end of the journey,
Mm-hmm.
still know exactly what happened to them, but it sits
Yeah.
differently in their
Okay.
system. It sits
Okay.
in this space of like, yeah, that happened. That happened. That's real. It happened to me, not somebody else, to me. Um, but here's what I still know about myself. I survived. I'm safe now. I know how to find the good people. I listen to myself now. I all sorts of things. I'm enough, whatever. Um, and so I think there's a lot of trauma survivors out there when you talk about living with trauma. Um, like that's such a good phrase, really, because it highlights for some people how living with trauma feels really uncomfortable and not great in their system. They would hear that phrase, be like, yeah, I'm living with it, and it's like ruining everything. And then there's other people who are like, yeah, I'm living with it because that was my life. That's true. That is true of my story. Um, and here's what I know about myself now. And here's all the ways I'm strong and resilient, and maybe I shouldn't have had to develop all that resiliency, but I can't change the past, and I did. So yeah, I think living with trauma is not an inherently like negative or positive thing. It's just like a factual statement.
Any final thoughts before we wrap up the conversation?
Oh my. Not when you put me on the spot. I have so many thoughts. I could talk all the time about this stuff. I guess, okay, final thoughts are like, I really do want people to find the support that they need because it is really hard to do this stuff on your own. I don't think we're meant to do it on our own. That's not how humans are wired. We're wired for connection. We heal in connection and community. So like that's if I don't know, if people hear anything, it's that. And that if you have support and it doesn't feel like it's enough, it's probably not your fault. You maybe just didn't find the right person. The relationship and therapy matters a lot. And I think there's a lot of people out there who will settle for just like good enough when maybe there's somebody else better for you out there, even if the person you found is like lovely, they might not be the right person for you. Also, you can ask things of your therapist, be like, hey, I think I need this, and you're not doing that. And good people will rise to the occasion or be honest with you and be like, I can't do that. Let's find you somebody who can.
Thank you so much for sharing, Carol.
Yeah, you are welcome. Thank you for having me.
This was Making It Last podcast, where it's all about helping us to have better relationships, not just with ourselves, but with other people. I'm Noreen Daly. Until next time.
We talk it out, no time to waste. Face to face, we set the pace. Hey, hey. Love so strong, no need to race. We hold it tight in every space, making it last. Oh, making it last. Yeah, yeah. Through the future, through the past. Building it high, keeping it fast. Communication, making it last. Making it last. Oh, making it last. Yeah, yeah. Through the future, through the past. Building it high, keeping it fast. Communication, making it last.